7 million years ago, somewhere in the dense green forests of Africa, a small furry creature climbed through the trees, searched for fruit, listened for predators, and had no idea that one day, its distant descendants would land on the moon. That creature was not a monkey, not quite an ape, and definitely not yet a human. But it was, in a very real sense, your great-great-great-grandparent, multiplied by hundreds of thousands of generations. Today you are watching this video on a smartphone, sitting in a chair, wearing clothes, probably drinking coffee. How did we get from that small climbing creature to you in just 7 million years? That is the story we are going to tell, from the very beginning to the present moment, step by step, species by species, bone by bone. Let us start with something that surprises many people. Humans did not evolve from monkeys. Modern monkeys and humans both evolved from ancient common ancestors. We are cousins, not parent and child. If you look at a chimpanzee today, you are looking at a distant cousin, roughly as distant as a cousin you share a great-great-grandparent with, except the shared ancestor lived millions of years ago instead of 100 years ago. About 7 million years ago, in Africa, there lived a creature that was the last common ancestor of chimpanzees and humans. From that creature, two lineages split. One lineage eventually became modern chimpanzees and bonobos. The other lineage became us. That split is where our story begins. The world 7 million years ago was different from today. Africa was warmer, mostly covered by forests, with rivers, lakes, and huge stretches of trees. There were no savannas yet in many places. Life was good for tree-dwelling primates. Food was abundant, predators existed, but the forest offered hiding places. Our ancestor was small, probably the size of a chimpanzee, maybe smaller. It walked on 4 limbs when on the ground, and it climbed with all 4 limbs in the trees. It had a brain roughly the size of a modern chimpanzee brain, around 300 to 400 cubic centimeters. It had grasping hands with opposable thumbs. It had forward-facing eyes, which gave it excellent depth perception. It lived in small social groups, probably communicated with sounds and gestures, and probably used simple tools like sticks and stones, just as chimpanzees do today. The first important fossils from this period come from a creature called Sahelanthropus. The remains were found in Chad, in Central Africa, and they date to about 7 million years ago. Sahelanthropus is fascinating because scientists found something curious in its bones. The skull has a hole at the bottom called the foramen magnum, where the spinal cord connects to the brain. In animals that walk on 4 legs, this hole points backward, so the spine is horizontal. In animals that walk upright on 2 legs, this hole points downward, so the spine is vertical. In Sahelanthropus, the hole is positioned in a way that suggests the creature might have sat upright, and possibly walked on 2 legs some of the time. We do not have leg bones from Sahelanthropus to be absolutely sure, but the skull alone tells us something important was happening. Some apes were starting to sit upright, to stand, to experiment with a new way of holding their bodies. A little later, around 6 million years ago, another creature appeared, called Orrorin. Fossils of Orrorin were found in Kenya, and importantly, we have leg bones. The femur, the thigh bone, shows signs that Orrorin walked upright on 2 legs. The inside of the bone, the structure, is shaped more like a human femur than an ape femur. This is one of the earliest pieces of evidence we have for bipedalism, walking on 2 legs. Orrorin still had long arms and probably climbed trees often, but on the ground, it walked on 2 legs. This was a small change, but it was about to change everything. Why does walking on 2 legs matter so much? It seems like a simple thing. Birds do it. Kangaroos sort of do it. But for a primate, walking on 2 legs was revolutionary. First, it freed the hands. When you walk on 4 legs, your hands are busy holding your weight. When you walk on 2 legs, your hands are free to carry things, to hold babies, to gather food, to use tools, to gesture at others. Second, standing upright raised the head. You could see farther across the grass. You could spot predators earlier. You could spot food farther away. Third, walking on 2 legs is more energy efficient over long distances than walking on 4 legs. You use less energy walking across the savanna. Fourth, walking upright reduces the surface area of your body exposed to the sun. Your head and shoulders get the sun, but the rest of you is in shade. In a hot environment, that matters. So bipedalism was not just a posture, it was a doorway. Once some apes started walking upright, a whole new set of possibilities opened up. Carrying food back to a home base, holding a baby while walking, gathering food with hands instead of mouth, using a stick to dig, throwing a stone at a predator. Every one of these behaviors becomes easier when your hands are free. After Orrorin, around 4 million years ago, a new group of creatures appeared, called the australopithecines. Australopithecus means southern ape. These creatures lived in eastern and southern Africa, and they are the real pioneers of bipedalism. The most famous australopithecine is Lucy, a specimen of Australopithecus afarensis found in Ethiopia in 1974. Lucy lived about 3.2 million years ago. She was small, about 1 meter tall, maybe 20 to 30 kilograms. Her brain was still small, around 400 cubic centimeters, not much bigger than a chimpanzee brain. But her pelvis and leg bones were clearly built for walking upright. Her feet had arches. Her spine curved in a human-like way. Lucy could climb trees, but she walked efficiently on 2 legs on the ground. The discovery of Lucy was a turning point in the study of human evolution. Before Lucy, many scientists thought that the big brain came first. They thought that what made us human was intelligence, and that walking upright was something that came later, after our brains grew. Lucy proved them wrong. Lucy had a small brain, but she walked upright. Walking upright came first. Big brains came later. This is one of the most important insights in the entire history of paleoanthropology. Why did walking upright come first? The answer is probably climate. Starting around 4 or 5 million years ago, Africa began to dry. Forests shrank. Grasslands, called savannas, expanded. This happened because of changes in Earth's orbit and the movement of continents, which changed ocean currents and rainfall patterns. As the forests broke up, the apes that lived in them faced a choice. They could stay in the shrinking forests, or they could venture out into the grasslands to find new food. The ones that learned to walk upright on 2 legs could cross the grasslands more efficiently, reach new food sources, and carry food back to their groups. Walking upright was an adaptation to a changing world. Around 3.7 million years ago, in what is now Tanzania, a group of australopithecines walked across a field of volcanic ash. The ash hardened and their footprints survived. When scientists found these footprints in the 1970s, they were stunned. The footprints were clearly made by a creature walking upright on 2 legs. There was no question. The big toe was in line with the other toes, not off to the side like in an ape. The arch was present. The gait was human-like. 3 people, probably an adult male, an adult female, and a smaller one, maybe a child, walked together. They walked the same way we do. Their brains were small, their faces were ape-like, but they walked like us. Australopithecines lived for a long time, from about 4 million years ago to about 2 million years ago. During that time, several different species appeared. Some were small and graceful. Some were larger and more robust. Some lived in forests. Some lived in more open grasslands. They all walked upright, but they all still climbed trees regularly. Their arms were longer than ours. Their fingers were curved like hooks for grabbing branches. They were not humans yet, but they were no longer apes in the usual sense. They were something new. One species, called Australopithecus africanus, lived in southern Africa. Another, called Australopithecus afarensis, lived in eastern Africa and included Lucy. There was also a strange creature called Australopithecus sediba, discovered in South Africa, which had a strange mix of features, ape-like arms and human-like hands. And there was a group called the paranthropines, robust Australopithecines, which had huge jaws and small brains. They ate tough plant foods, roots, tubers, seeds. They were like the heavyset cousins of the lighter Australopithecines. They lived alongside our ancestors for a long time and eventually went extinct about 1 million years ago. While all this was happening, something else was changing. The climate kept changing. Africa got drier. Forests kept shrinking. grasslands kept expanding. Lakes formed and dried up. This instability, this constant change, probably played a huge role in shaping our evolution. Animals that could adapt to many environments survived. Animals that were specialized for one environment died out when that environment changed. Our ancestors became generalists. They learned to eat many different foods. They learned to live in many different places. This flexibility became the defining feature of our lineage. Around 2.5 million years ago, in eastern Africa, a new kind of creature appeared. We call it Homo habilis, which means handyman. Homo habilis was smaller than us, maybe 1.5 meters tall, with a brain of about 600 to 700 cubic centimeters. That is bigger than an australopithecine brain, but smaller than ours. What made Homo habilis special was not its size or its brain, it was its hands. Homo habilis made stone tools. Stone tools changed everything. Before stone tools, primates used sticks and stones as tools, the way chimpanzees do today. They would use a stick to fish for termites or a stone to crack a nut. But they did not shape the tools. They just picked up what they found. Homo habilis went further. It took a stone and struck it against another stone in a specific way to create a sharp edge. It shaped the tool. It made something new. The earliest shaped stone tools are called Oldowan tools, named after the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, where many were found. Oldowan tools were simple. They were just sharp flakes struck off a larger stone, but they were incredibly useful. With a sharp stone flake, you could cut meat off a dead animal. You could crack bones to get at the marrow inside. You could sharpen a stick to make a spear. You could cut tough plant fibers. Tools became an extension of the body. They became a way to access food that was otherwise impossible to get. And this opened up a new food source: meat. Meat is dense in calories and nutrients. Plant foods, like leaves and fruit, are easy to find but low in calories. You have to eat a lot of them to get enough energy. Meat, especially the fat and marrow of animals, is packed with calories. When our ancestors started eating more meat, they had more energy available. Brains are expensive organs. They use a lot of energy. A bigger brain needs more food. Eating meat made it possible to grow a bigger brain. And a bigger brain made it possible to make better tools, to cooperate better, to hunt better. This created a feedback loop. More meat, bigger brain, better tools, more meat, bigger brain. The loop continued for millions of years. Homo habilis was the beginning of this loop. But it was just the beginning. Around 1.9 million years ago, a new species appeared, called Homo erectus. Homo erectus was a turning point in human evolution. It was the first human species that was really human-like in body. It was tall, about our height. It had long legs built for walking and running. Its arms were shorter, more like ours. Its brain was bigger, around 900 to 1,000 cubic centimeters. And Homo erectus did something no human ancestor had done before. It left Africa. For millions of years, our ancestors had lived only in Africa. Homo erectus changed that. It walked out of Africa, through the Middle East, into Asia, and into Europe. Fossils of Homo erectus have been found in Georgia, in China, in Indonesia. Homo erectus was a traveler, an explorer. It adapted to new environments, new climates, new foods. It was a generalist, and that is what made it successful. Homo erectus also made better tools. The tools it made, called Acheulean tools, were more sophisticated than Oldowan tools. The most famous Acheulean tool is the hand axe, a teardrop-shaped stone with sharp edges all around. Making a hand axe requires planning and skill. You have to imagine the final shape inside the raw stone, and then strike it in just the right way to reveal that shape. Homo erectus did this for over 1 million years. Hand axes are found all over Africa, Europe, and Asia. They are the longest-lasting technology in human history. But the biggest invention of Homo erectus was fire. No one knows exactly when humans first started using fire. Some evidence suggests it was 1 million years ago. Some evidence suggests it was 400,000 years ago. But at some point, Homo erectus learned to control fire. Fire was a revolution. Fire provided warmth. Homo erectus could survive in colder climates, in Europe and Asia, where winters were harsh. Fire provided light. People could stay active after dark. Fire protected against predators. No animal wants to approach a fire. Fire changed food. Cooking meat made it easier to digest. Cooking plants made them softer and more nutritious. Cooking unlocked calories that were previously unavailable. Cooking, in a sense, was like a second digestive system outside the body. It did the work of chewing and digesting before the food even entered the mouth. And cooking made brains grow even more. Because cooking made food easier to digest, the digestive system could shrink. Brains could grow. The energy that went to digesting tough plant foods now went to powering a larger brain. Fire also created a social center. People gathered around the fire. They cooked together, ate together, talked. The campfire became the center of human social life. Language probably developed around campfires. Storytelling probably developed around campfires. The fire was not just a technology. It was the cradle of human culture. Homo erectus lived for a very long time, from about 1.9 million years ago to about 100,000 years ago. That is almost 2 million years. For comparison, our species, Homo sapiens, has existed for about 300,000 years. Homo erectus was one of the most successful human species ever. It spread across 3 continents. It invented tools, fire, and probably language. It was the first true human. But Homo erectus was not alone. As it spread across the world, different populations evolved in different directions. In Europe, a population evolved into a species we call Homo heidelbergensis. From Homo heidelbergensis, 2 branches emerged. One branch went to Europe and became the Neanderthals. Another branch stayed in Africa and became Homo sapiens. Neanderthals appeared around 400,000 years ago. They lived in Europe and Western Asia in cold climates in Ice Age Europe. Neanderthals were not the stupid, brutish cavemen of old cartoons. They were intelligent, skilled, adaptable humans. Their brains were actually bigger than ours on average, around 1,500 cubic centimeters. They were shorter and more muscular than us, built for cold climates, with short limbs and wide bodies that retained heat. They made sophisticated tools. They made stone spear points, scrapers, and knives. They made tools out of bone and antler. They controlled fire. They built shelters out of bones and hides. They buried their dead, which suggests they had ideas about death and the afterlife. They cared for their sick and elderly. Neanderthal skeletons have been found with healed, broken bones, evidence that the person was cared for by others while they healed. They made jewelry, shells with holes in them, pigment for coloring. They probably had language. They were not inferior to us. They were just different. Meanwhile, in Africa, something else was happening. Around 300,000 years ago, a new species appeared, Homo sapiens. The first Homo sapiens fossils were found in Morocco, in a place called Jebel Irhoud. These early humans had faces like ours, with small teeth and flat faces. Their brains were shaped differently from earlier humans, with larger frontal lobes. They were taller, more slender, built for the warm African climate. They made tools, controlled fire, and probably had language, but for a long time they stayed in Africa. Then, around 70,000 years ago, something happened. A group of Homo sapiens left Africa. We do not know exactly why. Maybe climate change pushed them out. Maybe population growth forced them to find new land. Maybe curiosity. Whatever the reason, a small group of modern humans crossed the Red Sea, probably at a narrow point near what is now Yemen, and entered Asia. From there, they spread. They moved east into India, into Southeast Asia. They moved north into Central Asia. They moved into Europe. Within a few tens of thousands of years, they had reached every habitable continent. This expansion is called the Out of Africa Migration. It is one of the most important events in human history. These early Homo sapiens were like nothing the world had seen before. They were adaptable, clever, social, and curious. They made better tools than any previous human species. They invented new ways of hunting, new fishing techniques, new ways of making clothes. They created art. Cave paintings in France and Spain, dating to around 40,000 years ago, show horses, bison, lions, and handprints. These paintings are some of the oldest artworks in the world. They suggest that these humans had imagination, symbolism, and a rich inner life. They also met other human species. When Homo sapiens entered Europe, they encountered Neanderthals. When they entered Asia, they encountered another human species called Denisovans, known mostly from a few bones and a lot of DNA. What happened when these species met? For a long time, scientists thought Homo sapiens wiped out the other species through violence or competition. But the truth is more complicated. We know this because of DNA. In 2010, scientists sequenced the Neanderthal genome. They compared it to modern human DNA. They found something shocking. Modern humans, especially those of European and Asian descent, have about 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA in their genomes. This means that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals did not just fight. They also met, interacted, and had children together. The children of those unions survived, and their DNA lives on in us today. Some people in Asia and the Pacific also have DNA from Denisovans. We are not a pure species. We are a mix. We carry the genes of other human species inside us. So, who won the encounter between sapiens and Neanderthals? It is not a simple question. Neanderthals disappeared about 40,000 years ago. Their fossils stopped appearing in the archaeological record around that time. But their DNA did not disappear. It lives on in us. In a sense, Neanderthals did not go extinct. They merged into us. They became part of us. Every person of non-African descent carries a small piece of Neanderthal inside them. Why did the Neanderthals disappear as a separate species? Scientists debate this. Some say Homo sapiens outcompeted them for resources. Some say climate change destroyed the environments Neanderthals were adapted to. Some say Homo sapiens brought new diseases that Neanderthals could not survive. The truth is probably a combination of all these factors. Neanderthals were adapted to cold climates. When the climate warmed, their environments shrank. Homo sapiens, with better tools and broader social networks, may have been able to adapt faster. And slowly, over thousands of years, the Neanderthal population declined and merged with the Homo sapiens population. After the Neanderthals were gone, Homo sapiens was the only human species left. We were alone. For the first time in millions of years, there was just one kind of human on Earth. We kept spreading. We kept adapting. We kept inventing. We developed agriculture about 10,000 years ago. We built cities about 6,000 years ago. We invented writing about 5,000 years ago. We invented the wheel, the printing press, the steam engine, electricity, computers, the internet. In just the last 10,000 years, we transformed the planet. But underneath all that, we are still the same animal that walked out of Africa 70,000 years ago. Our bodies are the same. Our brains are the same. Our desires and fears are the same. The story of human evolution is not a story of constant progress toward perfection. It is a story of a small, adaptable primate that learned to walk upright, make tools, control fire, and cooperate in large groups. Those four things, more than anything else, made us what we are. Walking upright freed our hands. Tools extended our reach. Fire gave us energy and safety. Cooperation gave us culture. Every other human achievement is built on these four foundations. Language is a tool for cooperation. Agriculture is a tool for food production. Cities are a form of cooperation. Science is a tool for understanding. Art is a tool for communication. Everything we are traces back to those early innovations. So what exactly distinguishes us from other animals? It is not just our brain size. Elephants have huge brains. It is not just tool use. Crows use tools. It is not just social behavior. Wolves live in packs. It is not just communication. Bees dance. What makes us different is the combination. We walk upright, which frees our hands. Our freed hands make tools. Our tools allow us to access new resources. Those resources feed our large brains. Our large brains allow us to imagine, to plan, to cooperate. Our cooperation allows us to share knowledge, to build on the discoveries of previous generations. We stand on the shoulders of ancestors we never met. No other animal does this in the same way. No other animal passes down accumulated knowledge across thousands of generations. No other animal builds on previous inventions endlessly, each generation adding something new to the pile. A chimpanzee uses a stick to fish for termites, and its children learn the same trick. But they do not improve the stick. They do not combine it with other tools. They do not, generation after generation, build something more complex. We do. That is what makes us different. The story of human evolution is a story of a small, curious, adaptable primate that found itself in a changing world and responded by changing itself. We did not plan our evolution. We did not choose to walk upright or grow bigger brains. These things happen slowly, over millions of years, through the blind process of natural selection. But they happened because our ancestors were flexible, because they could adapt, because they could learn. And that flexibility is our deepest trait. We are not the strongest animal. We are not the fastest. We are not the biggest. We are not the most durable. But we are the most flexible. We can live in any climate, eat almost any food, solve almost any problem. We can imagine a future that does not exist yet and then build it. We can tell stories about the past, about the future, about things that never happened. We can ask questions about ourselves, about the universe, about our place in it. That ability, that flexibility, that imagination is the legacy of 7 million years of evolution. When you look at your hands, you are looking at the hands of Sahelanthropus, of Lucy, of Homo erectus, of the Neanderthals. When you walk across a room, you are walking the way your ancestors walked across the African savanna 3 million years ago. When you sit around a table with friends, sharing food and talking, you are doing what Homo erectus did around a campfire 1 million years ago. When you use a tool, you are continuing what Homo habilis started 2.5 million years ago. You are not separate from this story. You are the latest chapter in it. 7 million years is a long time, but in the history of life on Earth, it is a blink. The dinosaurs ruled for 150 million years. Sharks have existed for 400 million years. 7 million years is nothing. And yet, in those 7 million years, we went from a small ape climbing trees to a creature that could leave the planet, that could understand the stars, that could write its own story. That is remarkable. That is the story of us, and the story is not over. We are still evolving. Not in the same way, maybe. Our technology now shapes our world faster than natural selection, but we are still changing, still adapting, still becoming something new. The humans of 1,000 years from now will be different from us, just as we are different from the humans of 1,000 years ago. The journey that began 7 million years ago in an African forest is still going. You are part of it. Every time you learn something new, every time you teach someone, every time you create something that did not exist before, you are continuing what Lucy started, what Homo erectus started, what the first toolmaker started. You are the story of human evolution, still being written.